we are in this together.
You have gifts that I don't have, and I have gifts that you don't have.
That we must see. Now is the time, because it's when we all get together that we will make the changes that we must make. We are the world.
Welcome to Malcolm and We the World, heard exclusively on malcolmpresents.com, a streaming network heard around the world and beyond. Use your own imagination. And today is my co-host, Yana Larson. Introduce our guest, since I can't pronounce her name or pronounce it wrong.
Oh, Malcolm. Today we have the lovely Srishti Arora. See, that's not that hard to say. And she is a new volunteer with us on our project. She's going to be helping us with marketing and content creation and all sorts of great things to make our show the biggest show on the planet. And so she has just started with us. I just recently met her less than a month ago. And she has told me that she's from Mumbai. Am I saying that correctly? Mumbai, India.
I was born in Mumbai, but brought up all over India.
Oh, okay. So she's a very a vagabond who's been around and knows a lot of things. Plus, she ended up in the USA, so we'll find out about that. Her father was a pilot in the Indian Army. Her mother was a teacher, and at some point in her young life as a teenager, she was diagnosed with diabetes type 1 and an anxiety condition. I don't know which came first, but it sounds together as it was really quite difficult. And she ended up here in the USA, so we'll find out how. And now she's helping us on our project. Welcome, Srishti, and thank you for being here. So let's start with being born in Mumbai and growing up in India. India is a huge country, lots of languages, right. lots of belief systems. So was it because of your father's position in the army that you lived so many places in India? What was the reason for moving about so much?
So my father was in the Indian Navy. So he was a pilot, and he lived in a lot of coastal areas because of his job. So me, my brother, and my mother moved along with him a lot. We eventually settled in the capital city of India, which is New Delhi. And ever since we've been there. And yeah, so because of his job and his commitments, we had to move around. We stayed in the southern region. We stayed a lot in the north. We stayed a little bit towards the east. So yeah, it's been a good combination of all. And because of his job, we got to see a lot of the country.
So did you learn a lot of languages then? Or, is the main language Hindi?
Yes, so I speak Hindi predominantly. Because of my ancestral people and my grandparents, we also speak a little bit of Punjabi. So quick fact in there. So my grandparents, they came to India after the partition in 1947. So so they moved from Pakistan and the entire chaos. They moved to India. They formed a new house here. And that's how we all came to being in India. So we are Hindus. We speak Hindi. And I speak a little bit of Punjabi because of my father's postings around the country. I've picked up a little bit of Malayalam, which is spoken in the southern region, a little bit of Telugu, and because of my friends, a little bit of Gujarati here and there. So yeah, I've come to learn.
Your parents moved from Pakistan to India?
No, so earlier it was one nation, right? India, Pakistan, and
until the partition.
Yeah, in the partition, they moved to India, like to the region India. Earlier, they were in the states that were once a part of undivided India.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And they moved to India, yeah. So that's why my grandparents.
Is your family also in India then? Or at some point you came over to USA, which to me is an amazing act of bravery. But so many young people I know do have that wanderlust in their souls and do travel. But where are they now? Are they kind of all over the place, or are you here by yourself?
I am living here with my
Yes.
husband. So I came in
Oh, you're
after.
I didn't know that part of the
Yeah.
story.
Is your husband Indian?
Yes, yes. He had come here to study, and after his he studied in Boston University, and after he got his job and he stayed here for a couple of years, we decided to tie the knot, and I moved from India to USA.
Do you want
So
to
I had been with
relocate? Do
my
you want to relocate here? I mean, permanently, or?
We haven't given that a thought as yet. We're enjoying time as it comes, and we'll take that call once we know if for sure both
Oh,
of us
by the
are
way,
settled.
there's a marvelous movie called Gandhi. I don't know if you've ever seen it, with Ben Kingsley.
Yes, yes,
And
yes, yes.
I understand it's historically it's supposed to be very very correct. So I don't know what you thought about it.
Yeah, historically, if you look at it, it's got most of the correct facts and all of the events in order. So that sort of ticks out. But other than that, I think there are better movies if you want to learn about the partition and everything. And
What movie would you suggest?
Yeah.
There is one about Shahid Bhagat Singh. It's in Hindi. And most of the movies I know are in Hindi. The
Oh,
only international mainstream cinema we know for the partition and for the Indian struggle for independence is Gandhi, which is amazing. The movie is amazing, but there are a couple of them in India, in Bollywood, like we say. There's Shahid Bhagat Singh. There's one called Sardar Udham Singh that came out recently. It's on Amazon Prime, and it's got an amazing actor, whom I really like. And yeah, that those are the two I can think of from the top of my head.
Because
What do you
the
think
whole
are the biggest? Sorry, Malcolm. So we step all over each other, but I was going to ask, what do you think? What do you think are the biggest myths that? Well, I can only talk about my country because that's what I know. But what do you think the biggest myths that the USA has about India?
That we only survive on chai tea latte, which is not correct.
But you only survive
It's
on what?
chai tea, chai
no,
tea
no,
that
Oh,
you get in Starbucks.
well,
So,
and rice.
yeah. I was going to say, and
and
rice is another
rice,
one.
yeah, that's wrong. That's not correct. We don't eat
And
a
that
lot of
everyone's
rice,
very
though we enjoy
poor,
it.
probably.
Well,
That everybody's very
Yeah,
poor.
yeah. I
yeah,
think we're over that notion that people in India are poor and it's a land of snake charmers and all of those things. Yeah, it's a part of
Right.
our culture, and a lot of people did do that back in the day, but not anymore. I think
yeah, I
it's
mean, back.
globally.
Yeah. The thing that we
Yeah,
always heard
globally
about
now.
India in the States is, the caste system.
Yeah, the caste system, of course, it's all like we're all over it. Like the generations coming now are very educated, very aware, and globally, India stands, you know, shoulder to shoulder with any other nation. Yeah, the myths that we drink chai tea, essentially, chai means tea. So it's
Oh,
saying
so it's
tea.
like TT. Yeah.
Yeah. And then again, naan bread, which means like naan means bread.
Yeah.
So naan is a type of bread. So bread. Those are the things that we come across. Other than that, yeah, all of us are software engineers, which is wrong. All of us are not software engineers. We do a lot of other things and we produce other things as
Right,
well.
you're computer geniuses.
Yeah, math geniuses. All of us are math geniuses,
and
which
and
is
you,
not true.
and you eat very hot food.
That's true. We do eat a little spicy food. I will not
I,
deny that.
I had a good friend who had a Indian restaurant in Hollywood,
Hmm.
and he had very spicy food. And as a matter of fact, a lot of the British rock stars used to come there to eat, when they were in town. And I happen to
Right.
love hot food, so.
I don't
Oh,
like
that's nice.
spicy.
Yeah.
But
Being
anyway,
Indian myself,
mm,
my spice tolerance is pretty low. I'm not a fan of very
Really?
spicy food.
So
Yeah,
now
medium spice.
you said your major was in food. We should call it technology.
Yes,
All right.
food
So
technology.
I would call that like nutrition. You may, so, I mean, that's the nutrition sciences. That's what I would correlate it with in USA. And I remember taking a course in that, and there was a lot of chemistry in that. So, I mean, I thought it was really, really, really hard. So now, where I'm going somewhere with this, I
Okay, hold on
promise.
for a
But
minute. Have you seen the past show that I had, Courtney on health?
Yes,
yeah,
I have.
Yeah,
I have.
because
yeah,
she's a nutritionist, and actually she went off to do other things. So yeah, I'm looking
Yeah,
to replace her.
I-
I don't know if
no, I've told her about that. We've talked about that, so we're going to talk about that, Malcolm. So I was
okay,
leading to that.
I won't jump the gun.
Oh, well, you do anyway. But anyway, so but we're unscripted here, so I have a plan here.
Oh,
In
you
fact,
didn't get the script I sent?
I did, but I filed it
You
in the
tossed it as
circular
usual.
file. Circular file, yeah. So, Srishti, let us get back to what I'm trying to talk about. So, I think you must have been like in high school age when it was you discovered you had diabetes type 1,
Mm,
right?
Slightly later, I discovered it after my graduation. So I was in
Oh,
my early
okay.
20s. Yeah, I
Oh,
was in my
okay.
early 20s. And it was even more shocking because
Yeah.
I was that old. Like I was in my early 20s, and everybody thought that it's not juvenile diabetes, so it cannot be type 1. But it came first, having diabetes was a huge shock to everybody because I was very young. And then having type 1 diabetes was even greater a shock because that meant dependency on insulin. It meant dependency on sensors, pricking myself like 3, 4 times a day. So yeah, that was the case.
So, yeah, and you mentioned being shocked. You were shocked. I'm sure your parents were shocked. Your family was shocked. And how did it manifest itself with you?
It was very tough, honestly. I mean, thinking about it gives me chills every time because it was a period when I was having a bad phase of my mental health. I was dealing with that myself, and then being diagnosed with diabetes, and it coming as a shock because I was really young, like I was 21 years old, and suddenly having to take these medications and pricking myself 3 to 4 times a day and an entire change in my lifestyle. It was a pretty huge shift. And I was just beginning to look at options for my post graduation. But again, because of my diagnosis, I couldn't take it up. I had to take a little break from studies. So my parents, my mother took it a little harsh in the beginning, but she came around really well. My grandfather already had diabetes, type 2
Hmm,
though. So it's not like my
yeah.
parents were alien to the concept. They knew what to do, how to manage it, how to take care of me. So all of that was the logistics of it was under control. The emotional turmoil it caused was a little, it wreaked a little bit of a havoc in our lives. But other than that, it took us about a month or two to really come around. But eventually, we all got used to the fact that, yeah, okay, this is something I have to be living with for the rest of my life. I do not have a choice. I cannot really, you know, uh, get better in a year or say 2 years and then start living a life as normal as any other person who does not have diabetes. So yes, that's when it was a little tough, but eventually we could, get things in order for me to
So did
carry
that
on my
lead to
life.
the anxiety condition, or did you have that before, or
Yeah,
is
I
it
had that before.
related somehow?
Yeah,
Probably.
I had that before. Of course, the diabetes diagnosis made it a little worse, but I did
Right.
have anxiety before. It was undiagnosed for the longest time. And I think it was in 2017, after my diabetes diagnosis, that we could actually give it some thought and look at it with a more, serious lens to see whether or not this condition could have led to my diagnosis or vice versa. So
Well,
in
I suffer from
2017,
it too, so I well understand and think that I also
yes,
had it for much longer than anyone would have thought when I look back. And I take
true.
medication for it and behavior modification steps, and it really helps me.
Same.
And I would think it would help me with if I had a diagnosis like that. And then earlier this year, I had a diagnosis of cancer. But
That can lead
fortunately,
to
I'm
anxiety.
cured. Yeah, but fortunately, I'm cured, and I had learned with medication and steps I had learned to deal with huge stresses. You know, how to put it in perspective for myself and go on.
Yeah.
But
Well,
anyway, the next thing I
that's
want to go ahead.
that's actually the disease of the decade now is anxiety. Because you go to any doctor now, or I'm a member of Kaiser, and they constantly ask me about my anxiety level because
Well,
it
yeah,
seems
because
Yes.
it's not, they don't think it's all in your head anymore. You know, now they are recognizing that there
True.
really is something there. Why some people have a harder time with it than
right.
others. And
I mean, you open up. I'm a news junkie, and you open up the news station, which is on a 24/7 basis. You know, you're sure that in the next year or two, the Earth is going to be destroyed.
you're right, from something. But yeah, I mean, it's all about, yes, we have a lot of stresses in our lives, but in every generation that have always been stressors, and even back then people suffered from anxiety disorders, and you know, the self-medication that people would, you know, alcohol, or
The home
you know,
remedies.
exactly. So that, now that's leading me, Malcolm, to where we wanted to go to, because when I met Srishti, she was talking about her passion for educating others about diabetes and taking care of yourself and anxiety, and how, you know, the whole health focus can be something that makes sure it's a part of living your life, not this thing you have to do, you know.
I think that's a major cause of alcoholism and
Mhm.
drug addiction. People rather live, in their own world than have the anxiety of living in this world. I mean,
That's
just
right.
listen to the news of the day. Go into CNN or Fox and see what the world is doing. Uh, every
Well, all the unrest everywhere, and even in
well,
India
yeah,
too.
all of these nations, are nuclear powers, and they
There's
don't have
stress.
necessarily a stable government. India is a nuclear, isn't it? I know Pakistan is.
No, no, definitely. India is. India is.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's like, funny. It's what's happening with Israel and the Arabs. It's like what's happening with Pakistan and India. They're the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
people. That
They
one
don't
time
get
they
that.
were in their own country. It's almost like a different
True.
religion. It's like
True.
the Muslims, and they have each sect that wants to kill the other sect.
We've
And
lived with it all our lives, and we've had grandparents who told us stories about the partition, and it's really sad, to see both sides of the border suffer so just
right.
mercilessly. It's really sad. And how much ever political it may be, or how much ever agenda driven all of this is, it's eventually people like us who take the brunt of the situation. We have to relocate, people have to leave their homes, people have to leave their land, people have to live without food, refugee shelters. It's just heartbreaking.
Right.
It's really
And it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed, I think, throughout the history of man. Like I
throughout.
always say, the more things change, the more things stay the same.
They say change is the only constant, but I think
Yeah.
the circle of life gets you back right there.
Right. But it stays the same. It's one
Right.
sect of religion hating the other sect of the religion and wanting to do away with that. As the Arabs and the Jews are cousins. I mean, they came from actually they're I blame Abraham because he started both, because both of his children, and and they still haven't learned to live with each other.
You're Jewish, so but your ancestry is from it's Russia, and you
And
haven't.
my ancestry is from Adam and Eve.
Well, I know, but I mean, it's Russian Judaism.
Yeah,
Oscar How do you say it? Ashkenazi?
Ashkenazi.
Ashkenazi.
Yeah, but I'm only 99.6% Ashkenazi Jew.
Only.
That was according to the Ancestry.com.
Yeah.
Oh,
So anyway, so
But
we went.
to my things, if you're any other religion, you were still because Judaism started monotheism. So if you're Catholic or Christian, before that you were either heathen or you were Jewish.
Heathen or Jewish?
If you were Catholic or Christian, because you converted.
It's also complicated. I'm still trying to. I mean, I remember hearing about when I was in high school, which was a really long time ago, the Gaza Strip, the left bank, Golan Heights, and I didn't understand it then, and I still am having a hard time understanding it. But I guess it's a lifelong history lesson, isn't it?
Well, I mean, the whole thing, which all of us have to learn, there's one world,
true.
and the world is small. I mean,
And
now you
we're
can.
all one species too.
It just needs empathy. It needs
At one time, I would never meet both of you.
Exactly.
You know, I would be in my own little shtetl if things were
I mean, because you're so old and because we're so young.
No, I'm talking about your parents and your
I'm
parents.
joking.
I'm
You're
I'm not old. I'm eternal.
Ah, that sounds really
Right. I mean,
special.
no, did you ever see some things that are really old in the past? I mean, could be hundreds of years ago, and you look at it, whether TV or reading, and something seems very familiar to you.
Yeah, all the
Ooh,
time.
that's
Yeah,
cosmic.
it's do 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 do.
You are in the twilight zone.
Yeah, it's my soul was there. My body may not have been there.
Well, I agree with that. We were part
I live
of
in
the
nostalgia.
Stardust.
I live in nostalgia. I'm always, sometimes, there are these random thoughts that come to your mind that, oh, I was born in the wrong era and I was probably even born then and not here. So,
And
yeah.
that's where you get when I think about, why are we born, some of us, well, I mean, in theory, all of us, but why some of us are born with so much more awareness. Maybe that's what it is. That intrinsic knowledge that, where did that come from? It came from somewhere. You may not have learned it
Yeah,
from your parents,
the
so
soul remembers.
well, I always say I'm from the galaxy of Boulder, Colorado, because that was a really different place to grow up. And yeah, it's a very different
No, but
galaxy.
I'm not. I'm more into Buddhism, and like in the. I think I've told this story another thing. When in the 70s, I used to have a long beard or a longer beard, long hair, and they had the Nehru jacket was very much in vogue, with the high collar, and I used to have the love beads, and I used to I used to have actually the worry beads, which I did, which is like the rosary, and I used to do well. I still do meditation,
Oh,
transcendental meditation. So I called myself Maharishi Mahesh Malcolm.
wow.
But and the whole thing
We
is,
have to have pictures of those, Malcolm.
Yeah.
I would love to see a picture of you when you
You should
look like
definitely
that.
write a book. You should write a book about all of your
He
experiences.
should. He has amazing stories.
but the whole
And
thing is, it comes when you meditate or the Buddhist, that everything the energy comes from the chi, which is just below the navel.
Yes.
That's like
Yes.
essential, and you have to
Your
get in
chi is
touch
like
with
a
that,
vibe.
right?
Yeah.
And if you can get in touch with that, it opens up the world.
do you ever see
True.
do you ever see the third eye when you're meditating?
No.
I have.
Ah.
Wow. Wow. So where I come from in Hinduism, one of our prime gods Lord Shiv. I don't know if you've heard about it. Shiva. He's
Shiva,
supposed
yeah.
to have the third eye, and that's supposed that opens up, when there's a lot of wrongdoings in the world and all of those things. So those are the stories we have heard about the third eye.
Well,
Everybody has.
I was several years ago, I was attuned to Reiki because I was a caregiver with students who were autistic. And this was through the Cleveland Clinic. So I was able to take this training course. And so in our first session, we were all attuned to Reiki by
Yeah.
the
I've heard great
masters.
things about Reiki.
Yeah. And so anyway, we were doing this like, I forget exactly what it was called, but like a meditative kind of, thing. And we were supposed to tell what we saw during this period of meditating. And I said, well, I saw just one eye. And everybody said, wow. And then I realized the significance of that. And so I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. I mean, I also
Wow.
saw color. So, yeah.
Well, I used to like, well, being I was from New York City. In the 70s, on the street corners, you would have the Hare Krishnas.
We had them in
Oh, yeah,
Boulder
they
too.
still do. They still
Yeah,
do. They still do. Yeah. I
they
live in New
still
York
do.
City myself.
And I used to go along, Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Hare,
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Yeah.
Rama, Rama, Rama.
Rama, Hare
And,
Hare.
and,
Yeah,
Yes.
and,
they were
and then
everywhere.
in LA, once a
The
year, I don't know if
ISKCON.
they still do it in Venice. They have they take a portion of the around the beach, and they have the elephants come. They have like the different tents to explain,
Oh,
what Krishna is.
Oh,
right.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so
But
there's
get
this organization called ISKCON. That's the International Society for Krishna Consciousness.
yeah.
They conduct all of these, so they have these programs and different aspects where you can go and meditate, you can learn about Lord Krishna. So Lord Krishna has great significance in the Hindu culture. So that's what
Yeah,
it's about.
well,
And
I do an offshoot now of TM because you're supposed to be quiet, but I have Om Shanti because when I have the music, the background, I put it on my telephone and it's Shanti, Om Shanti,
oh,
Shanti, Shanti. Because every time we would go into when I'd go into one of these, I think it was Swami Satchidananda, and he had a few
sorry.
people lecture Swami Satchidananda.
Okay, yes, I've heard of.
And we used to go to the big auditorium, when he would lecture. And they had for 5-10 minutes before the lecture, everyone would do the Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Shanti.
Because, the thing was, there's a rhythm to the world. And you
Right.
have to get in touch with the rhythm. And you be
That's
one
right.
with the world. So
Right.
even though we're
That's what we've been
individuals, we're much more.
much
If
more.
we can
That's right. That's
find
what
the
we've been
connection.
brought up with. I'm so sorry for cutting you.
Uh,
What I was saying is that, no, please go ahead. Please go
No,
ahead.
no,
I
but
don't want to
anyway,
be.
so ultimately, we're all so much more alike if you can get all the other baggage that we have and just speak to people, from their soul.
True.
But anyway, getting back to you, what do you want to do? What do you hope to accomplish with us, with Malcolm and we, or with we the world, or individually? What are you trying to? Because you're still young. Actually, we're all still young, but you're just starting out. What do
Yeah, I'm an
you want
infant.
to do?
Yeah. So the sole reason why I decided to volunteer was my, urge to educate is very high. I have always believed that education is the number one means to eradicate all problems from the world. And be it poverty, be it hunger, be it, homelessness, all of these things, with proper education, with proper communication awareness, all of these things can be really dealt with. Be it health, be it these diseases that we go through these days, which are really catching us, hard. All of these diseases like diabetes, mental health, anxiety, depression, all of these things, if there is education, there is, some sort of dialogue about these things, it can be really beneficial. And I saw this as a platform where I could, help with taking these snippets of education, experience, wisdom to people across the world. And that will really help people to, learn more about these things, to talk about these things, to really have a conversation, which is important. It could be a really bad conversation, but a conversation is a conversation, and that matters. That's what I strongly feel. I mean, you could fight, but if you can take 2 cents from that fight, that's what matters, right? You have a really heated debate.
It's
Please go
communication.
ahead.
Isn't she
Yes,
amazing?
communicate.
I was so excited to meet her because she just epitomizes what we're trying to do about MalcolmPresents.com, Malcolm and We the World. We call it going from me to we. So it's going from a me, egocentric consciousness to a
Right.
we consciousness, and
Right,
finding that common ground.
I'm Malcolm and I'm trying to introduce the world to people like yourself, people who
Mhm.
care, people who, especially young. We have older people also, but especially young people, because the earth is going to be yours. I don't know. I only have another 20, 30 more years to live. I don't expect
Me
to be
neither.
more than
Well, I
110,
might.
120. But
Who knows, Malcolm? You could live to be the oldest man on earth.
well, I am,
Definitely.
because I've
You're a
incorporated.
young guy. You're a
I've
young
You're a really
guy.
young
incorporated
guy.
not all the knowledge, but all the feeling
Yeah,
in hundreds of years.
you've got a lot. You have a lot to offer still.
Actually, when I go to, actually, it's almost any religion. When I go to a temple and I hear the chanting, it takes me like I was back there, back then, where they're going to a synagogue and hear the Hebrew, or going to a Catholic church. And I mean, I love Gregorian chants.
Yeah.
Right.
And it sort of takes me
Yeah.
to
It
someplace.
ties you to the eons of time that's
Right.
been
And there's
before and is
something,
still ahead. I
right.
know. It's indescribable, that feeling.
Yeah,
It just,
there's something, once you can leave yourself and listen,
yes.
that's eternal. That's why I say I'm eternal. When I do that, when I go to the ocean and I hear
Yeah,
the waves, and I realize the waves have been there, since there was earth.
right.
True.
And you hear it, and it's continuing, and it's going forever if we don't destroy what we have. But anyway, believe it or not, our time is up.
It's been a really great conversation, very cosmic.
And I hope you come aboard with us.
She
And
is. She's stoked.
And looking forward.
whether it be finding shows that we could do, or finding people to be on the show, or you hosting a show.
Doing her own show. I mean, I'm just thinking she could teach about Hinduism. She could teach about nutrition. There's so many
Yeah,
mental health.
as I say, because Courtney on health was, I liked it because she was a nutritionist, so she knew food.
Right.
And to me, which I hate, is that you have to take pills for medicines. If you eat the right
Food is
foods, it might, even with diabetes, if you eat the right foods,
That's the key.
that can channel you, that can, help you with whatever disease that you have.
That's
Because
absolutely correct.
if you let your own
Well,
body heal you.
so she's an absolute find, and we're so thrilled she's with us.
Well, I'm glad you came aboard. And
Thank
we
you
could do
so
And
it.
we'll
much.
be meeting soon because we're going to get together with Maura and Kevin and Madhavi and
We have a whole team, because I know nothing about the internet and the social media.
but he
I
has
know how to
vision.
put
Have
together
us.
shows, and I
Yeah,
can
you
talk.
have us.
Ask Yana. I can talk.
Yeah.
In fact, somebody has to sometimes say, Malcolm, shut up.
And,
But
when he
neither-
doesn't, I
neither of
just
you
talk
two.
louder over him.
Right. Anyway, looking forward to seeing you again. And
Definitely.
Yana
Like,
will be in touch, and we'll have a Zoom meeting to take care of the details how we'll organize from here on.
Yep.
sure.
Anyway, guys, have a great weekend,
Thank
and
you.
I'll see Yana. I'll see you next week.
Yes.
Sure.
Bye.
Thank you.
Also,
Bye bye.
I wanted to add something. If you need any help with the editing of this video, I'll be more than happy to do it. I know how to do that as well.
Oh,
Great,
do you?
because
Okay.
Brandon can use some help. He's
No,
doing
yeah,
it
well,
all.
we have someone doing it right now, but eventually I want all the shows that come on Malcolm Radio edited.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Editing
And
adds that touch
and
to
right
it.
now the only shows that are edited are Malcolm and we, but I want all of my shows edited. And in fact, if you know anyone that does music, I want original music at the head of it.
Ooh.
I'll keep an eye out. If I get to know somebody, I'll definitely.
Okay, guys. And we'll be in touch, and you'll be working. Yes. Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye. Great conversation. Thank you.
The objective of the organization We the World is to facilitate cooperation on a global scale amongst groups and individuals dedicated to implementing solutions to the many challenges we face on the planet at this time.